Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers of all ages. Good day to you. We are climbing into this Bullet Boss Ford Mustang right here. We've got an actual transmission in it. We got a 5-speed with reverse, and I believe this is equipped with the 4.6 liter V8. Now what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you guys how to spot counterfeit replacement engine components and another assorted car parts, stuff that can be found at a discount price on the interwebs. The moral of the story in this one's going to be quality doesn't cost, it pays, and you get what you pay for. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. We've got a scenario here where there were counterfeit parts installed on this Mustang, and it made the man's problem worse. And now we're here. We were diagnosing it yesterday. We figured it out. It's a pretty simple diag, actually. We're working with a 2009 Mustang. Let's go ahead and pull up the scan tool. I'm going to show you guys the code that we have to work with here. And I'm going to show you how we determined that the parts that were installed were a discount part that came in a Ford Motorcraft box. And they are 100% faulty, counterfeit, and dangerous. So effectively, by trying to save a little bit of money, it costs a lot of money. So let's pull this thing up. I'm going to show you guys the code, and then we'll go from there. Come on, wake up, you. It's not Monday, it's Friday. Wake up. Let's start the engine, see what happens. Clutch it in. Starting's the engine. Yeah, maybe doesn't want to wake up until I start it. She's awake now. There we go. 2008 Ford Mustang with a 4.63 valve, single overhead cam. We've got 145,280 miles on the odometer. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go into engine. We do not have a check engine light at this time. Codes menu, but I did have some codes in here. Let's pull them up and see what it says. We've got some issues with the fuel rail pressure sensor circuit right there. We've got a P0193 fuel rail pressure A circuit high input. Now high input, that could just be an open circuit type of situation. So what we're dealing with here, the customer had stated that on occasion the car doesn't want to start, or doesn't want to, or it would crank and not start, and he'd go outside, he would disconnect the fuel rail pressure sensor, plug it back in, then the car would start. So he found that that was a faulty fuel rail pressure sensor. The story is that he ordered one from the jungle store on the interwebs. He replaced it, and the replacement sensor was leaking fuel out of the vacuum side of the sensor. So we've got our fuel injectors here at the base of the intake manifold. We've got the fuel rail right here. There's a rail on either side. Those are charged with pressurized fuel at all times. When the injectors are commanded on, they're going to open up the valve, spray some fuel through, and that fuel is going to enter the combustion chamber, and the engine's going to do its thing. Now this particular ECM has a pressure sensor located on top of this fuel rail. That way it knows what the fuel pressure is, because it's going to use fuel pressure to help determine flow rates, to determine how much fuel each injection pulse is going to be delivering. So this is all mathematically calculated. So the guy had the code, he went on the interwebs, bought one of these sensors, replaced it, and next thing you know, the problem didn't go away, it got worse, and he had found that this vacuum line right here had fuel in it with the replacement sensor. So he took the old one back, or took the new one back off, put the old one back on, plugged it back in, and then brought it to the shop. So this is the old sensor. His new one is located, hang on a second, let me find it. Here we go. There's his replacement. Now this thing was installed at one time and it leaked fuel, so it became uninstalled, and we put it back in the bag and then back in the box. Now my guy had stated that he paid like 29 bucks for this unit here on the Amazon store, and thought he was purchasing a Ford Motorcraft replacement component. Looks very Ford-like. We've got a Ford part number, we've got some Ford font, we've got all the Ford disclaimers, we've got the Ford QR code. But when we took a closer examination of what we have here, none of this really looks to be very Ford-like. Like, this does not feel normal, and this certainly does not look normal. And if we were to look a little closer, let me get a light here and see if we can't give this thing the close-up a little bit. Do you see the loud noises? You guys see the plastic there? It looks very cheap, kind of porous, but what's most important is what is not on the outside of this. We do not have the QR code etched into it. We don't have a part number on it. It does not say Fomaco anywhere, Ford Motor Company. This does not look or appear to be a Ford Motorcraft part. If we take this one, bring it over here to the factory original that came in the vehicle, we got a better illustration. Do you see the difference in the hue and the plastic? We've got this darker plastic here, which is the same plastic as that intake. This is a lighter plastic on the new sensor. Looking down real close at this sensor, hang on a second. You know what? Let me switch cameras real quick. You got to be able to see this. Details matter. The devil's always in the details. Let me get a phone. All right, let's try this again with a better camera. So take a look at this factory sensor right here. We can see it has a Bosch engraving. Bosch made the sensor. It's got Bosch's part number or build code, that 050. It says Bosch right on top. We've got a part number etched right into the plastic. We've got a build date etched into the plastic. It says Fomaco right there, and then there is the Ford part number right there. Okay, now we look over here at this other sensor. We don't have any of that. No Bosch, no part number, no Fomaco. Clearly, this is not the same as this. So what happened? Why did that part come in this Ford Motorcraft bag? Well, I will tell you, because we called up the dealership and we ordered the actual Motorcraft fuel rail pressure sensor. And look what they did. This is a very clever counterfeit. So what we have, a couple subtle differences here. We can see the part numbers are the same, CM-5229 1X, CM-5229 1X. Now, a lot of Ford part numbers are going to be in this configuration, but this one was written up a little differently. Same thing with the 3F2Z-9G756-AC. We transplanted that right over to here. We transplanted the 4490313, that's right there. And all of this has been transferred right over. But do you see the subtle differences in the font, the structure? See the color difference between this Motorcraft and this one? This one is slightly faded. This is a nice deep, rich red color. Can you see that on camera? Deeper, rich red and slightly faded red. Now this is a known Ford OEM part. This one's our counterfeit. They copied some kind of a QR. Ford has QR codes on their business. This one has a QR code. We've got the same barcode, but we do not have the same component. Let's tear this guy open real quick and I'll show you the differences between this one and the one that came in there. Oh, by the way, this one here came in this box. That's a white box. Somebody took a label maker, put the printout on it, used packing tape to attach the label to the box, and then, so basically, they reboxed a counterfeit part to make it look like a Motorcraft part, and they listed it as a Motorcraft part and then charged a premium. Okay, unboxing the new one from the dealer. We can see the telltale marks of authenticity. We've got Bosch, we've got Fomaco, we've got the part number etched into it, and we have that same color of plastic. Bring this over here. You see the darker color? See that lighter one? That looks kind of gray. This one's not been weathered, this one has, hence the slight difference, and there's a bunch of dust on this one here. But this is a very clear illustration that this is a fake part that has been placed inside of a fake package. They probably spent more on the packaging than they did on the part. So the way this works logistically is a supplier, it could be a drop shipper, it could be just a parts guy or someone trying to be a parts guy, it could be an importer, exporter, it could be some people trying to call you to assist you with your Medicare Part B, it could be any of the above and more. Well, what happens is they're going to call up a manufacturing facility overseas, usually in China, and what they will do is they're going to say, hey, we want 1,000 of these things right here, or 10,000 or 100,000. And they're going to send them one of the originals. So that part overseas, or that manufacturer, they're going to take this and they're going to copy it as best they can with the cheapest components that is readily available. They're probably building these things for 4 or 5, 6 cents a piece. So the guy buys 10,000 of them, puts them on a skid, sends them over. Then what they do is they'll take the original packaging and they'll figure out the most cheapest, cost-effective way to counterfeit that packaging. Somebody will get a label printer and they'll try to get the ink matched up, and they'll try to get the font matched up, and they'll design this and they'll print these bags out of just some whatever kind of generic stock, different than this bag, but these ones are probably cheaper to buy in bulk. But they'll print these bags out, they'll take their giant box of the brand new parts they bought, they'll bag each one of them up, place them in a generic wholesale purchase. You buy these in bulk, just whatever box, put it in there, then you stick it on your Amazon store, and then here you go. So now when someone's looking for this particular part number, they find that this one's $275 in the dealership, but this one's 30 bucks. Well, I don't want to pay $275, right? So I'm going to pay $30. So then they buy this one. The uninitiated will open it up and go, oh wow, look at that. Dealership's ripping me off big time because I just bought this $300 part for 30 bucks. That's incredible. Not realizing that the part that they actually purchased doesn't do anything at all. In fact, the one the guy had, it was spewing fuel out of the vacuum side, because the build quality of the counterfeit part is so bad that even though there's supposed to be fuel here to act on the diaphragm in there to get a pressure reading, there's no diaphragm, or it doesn't seal, or it was made out of the wrong material and the fuel just ate right through it. So next thing you know, you're pumping fuel into your vacuum system somewhere, and who knows where it's going. So this $30 part could potentially be causing hundreds of dollars in damages to your vehicle, all because you try to save some money. This is why you got to be very super extra cautious when buying parts on the internet. If it barely looks right, or if the cost is too good to be true, it's probably a fake. And as we can see here, this is a very good fake. It's hard to spot these things. You got to really, really know exactly what to look for in order to find it. Now, you're not going to find this just with Motorcraft. You'll find it with AC Delco. You'll find it with Mopar parts. You'll find it with NGK. You'll find it with Toyota. You'll find it with Bosch. People will copy the packaging, order from whoever, wherever in Bangladesh, China. They'll order a bunch of fake reproduction parts, and there's no accountability here because the people that build them, you can't hold them accountable. They're in a whole nother hemisphere. The guy that sells them, you can't hold him accountable because he's separated from the source with 3 different shell companies. And the only thing you have to do is go back and get your money back from Amazon. But what these guys will do is, if they get enough Amazon complaints, Amazon will ding their store, shut them down. They just open up another store and copy and paste. They just do it over and over again. And there's almost no way to stop this kind of stuff unless we're able to stop the influx of these parts entering into the border. That's the deal. The guys at the port need to be, they need to have some kind of checks and balances and protocols in there to vet this kind of stuff, because we should not be reading a manifest from China that says Ford Motor Company automotive parts, because Ford Motor Company does not produce their automotive parts in China. So that should be an instant rejection at the port of Los Angeles or wherever they come into the country at. So the Port Authority, in my opinion, should be trying to keep this stuff from entering into the country. This is poisonous to our economy. It's poisonous. It's dangerous. Like, you put the wrong car part on, your freaking wheel falls off on the highway. That's going to be a problem for you. So we should not be using fake copycat Chinesium automotive components. The risk is just not there. It's not worth the money. Or I should say the money's not worth the risk, because you just don't know what's going to happen, because you're putting an inferior component into your machine, and there's really no way to predict what's going to happen. I mean, this thing could have worked. It could have not worked. It could have worked inaccurately, but this one was spewing fuel out everywhere. That could have potentially caused damage all over, a fire anywhere. It could have done a lot of things to absolutely destroy this fine example of a Ford Mustang right here. So if you guys need to save some money, save it in the right place. Don't risk it all trying to save a couple $100 on a counterfeit component. So that being said, it's my soapbox for the day. Let's pop this old one off that's faulty and put this new one on that is not faulty. The box store auto parts places do that too. The AutoZones and the O'Reillys and the Advances. A lot of times, and that's kind of the strategy, is they'll those aftermarket components that are at a discount when compared to the OEM components, those are all purchased from a manufacturer overseas, and then they're reboxed in the individual boxes, like, you know, the Duralast or the O'Reilly's or the CarQuest brand or whoever. A lot of those actual physical components are the exact same component, and you can determine that by comparing the two and looking at the proof marks that the manufacturer put on there. If they're a good manufacturer, they'll proof their work, and you know, they'll stamp it with their logo, or they'll stamp it with a part number. There'll be some kind of identifying mark on the component that will let someone trace it back to its origin. This right here, that's untraceable. It's a ghost part. It doesn't exist. It's got no serial numbers on it, causing problems, mayhem in the economy. What's really happening is we have been under economic warfare for a long time from our economic opponents overseas. And part of that economic warfare strategy is to flood our markets with these cheapo junk components, because it's not about the profit that they get from the money that they made or took in from selling the components. The real advantage is on a national scale, because the countries that allow that to happen, they allow these products to export out of their country, and they allow the counterfeit to take place to begin with. It is to their advantage, because what that does is it eats up our labor pool. We're spending all this time. It eats up our money, because now we're buying things over and over and over again. And again, it potentially causes us like physical harm and damages. What if there was a fire? What if this guy missed work? What if this guy didn't get his kids to school? The unquantifiable costs are astronomical when you have an entire economy that floods another entire economy with garbage. And that's exactly what's happening right now, is we're just sending in this garbage, and we're buying this garbage, and it's costing us so much. We have not even begun to feel the ramifications and the consequences of the practices of importing this kind of stuff into the country, because it does not belong here. Just like that little red Chinese car that I have. You guys remember that thing, that piece of Chinesium junk? It was like it's like a moped with 4 wheels. That thing shouldn't even be in the country, but somebody loaded an entire shipping container full of those things and sent them over here. And they're a bunch of death traps. They're cheap, garbage, nonsense, death trap vehicles that should not exist. But other nations, that thing's tore up from the floor up. I ruined it. But there are some enemy nations out there, or rival nations, I could say. I don't want to offend the Chinese. But you guys send this stuff over here deliberately. You know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. And it's not going to change until everybody else figures out what's going on too. So let's make that change right now. Let's stop buying counterfeit Chinesium parts from the jungle store. And no, my problem is not with Chinese people. It's not racist, you guys. It's like 4 of you are going to say that. It's not racism. Those are facts of the matter. That's what comes from that particular country of origin. So there. Yeah. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's give this a test real quick. We're going to disconnect this vacuum line, because that was the concern. Fuel coming through. What we'll do is we'll key it on. We key it on, that's going to give us some fuel pressure as soon as it powers up. There we go. And looky there, it's not spraying fuel everywhere. Oh goody. Okay, so now let's fire it back up and clear our code out. There we go. Touch it in. Neutral check. Starting the engine. She's alive. Good. Fuel rail pressure sensor circuit high input. So as I was saying when we first started, that circuit high is basically saying it's not connected. It's open. Not functional. The thing did nothing except leak fuel. Code's cleared out. Check memory code, see if it threw back up. Threw back in, came back up. You know what I meant. Nothing. That's good. Alrighty. Well, this one's off, ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna go ahead and back it out, park it. We're all set here. So the problem was simply Chinesium, copycat, counterfeit, rip-off parts. Stop buying them, folks. We don't need it. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out. Thanks for watching this short video. Let me know what you think about counterfeit car parts in the comment section down below. Do not forget to engage that like and subscribe button while you're down there. And most importantly, have yourselves a fantastic day. See you guys later. End of short video, end of day, end of week. It's Friday. End of transmission.